Welcome to In Touch, Think STEM Career Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Ayo Lufade. This podcast explores the evolving world of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics in underrepresented community, including the Blacks, Indigenous, and the people of color. STEAM is important in our community because our health, economy, and future depends on a solid foundation and innovation and our people's participation in the STEAM field. To inspire and support the creation of innovative solutions for sustainable development that will contribute to positive change in the Bipoc community, for improving quality of life, and as the STEAM community continues to evolve, this podcast will attempt to connect with people, with men and women who are champions of STEAM education and career in the STEAM field to gain insight into our BIPOC community, or to gain insight into how our BIPOC community can be part of innovation in the STEM field and the 21st century workforce. Today, I am privileged and delighted to introduce Mr. Akpan, Mr. Usen Akpan. For full transparency, Mr. Apen is my brother-in-law. Well, brother,
That's right.
I leave out anything, my brother.
Yeah, no, you didn't. No, it's perfect. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Okay, I have more to say. Mr. Akpan is an accomplished IT security project manager and program manager with 19 years of successful experience in developing project definition, providing oversight to management on multiple information security projects and programs, and identifying as well as mitigating program risk. He has a hands-on experience in setting up the security standard for application, infrastructure, risk assessment process, and incident management process for running successful operations. He is instrumental in developing business continuity plans and service standard for business excellence. He has demonstrated capability of providing end-to-end strategic IT and security solution. He has gained extensive knowledge in managing cyber investigation, cyber forensic, and network protection. Mr. Apen, welcome to In Touch, Think STEAM. Did I miss out anything in the introduction?
You didn't. I mean, I look back at it, it's been a career. I appreciate the opportunity. Let me say that first. I know your passion in STEM. I mean, and how you've, through the years that I've known you, have always wanted and had this passion. And it's good to see this platform that you've created. And I do know it will continue on. No, you didn't leave anything out. It's kind of flattering from the background, everything that's happened over the last 19, 20, 21 years of career. But it's been a good journey. It's been a great journey. I appreciate this opportunity.
It's really my pleasure. When I was thinking of someone I can bring onto the show who has a wealth of experience as it pertains to technology and IT, who I feel that can actually talk, is based on his experience as a member of the BIPOC community, or African American community, or Nigerian American community.
Yep.
And also has a wealth of experience and something to share with the younger generation. I automatically thought about you. And I feel that you are an expert that can speak on the state of our people as it pertains to STEAM and technology. And thank you so much for coming to have a conversation with me. Let me start by Let me start with this. Both the House and the Senate has expressed support for the administration to propose a wide renew initiative. Take, for example, most recently, the new energy in science workforce. And the whole idea is aimed to increase participation and retention of underrepresented group according to the administration. In addition, the House also and the Senate has advanced bills that and funding to increase funding for major STEAM educational program across the federal government in the fiscal year 2020. According to some report, this initiative, uh, the funding increase actually, meets and exceeds many of the Biden's administration request. Another example, the House proposed a proposal nearly double the $13 million budget for the Minority Science and Engineering Improvement Program, which aims to increase the participation of underrepresented group in the STEAM field and improve STEAM education capacity at minority-serving institutions. The House and the Senate matched the administration request to increase funding for NASA Office of STEAM Engagement from $129 million to $147 million. So within that, both proposed increasing the budget of the minority university research education program by $10 million, right? So overall, you have seen there's a concerted effort from the administration, from the Congress, in order to fund and increase the retention and the engagement of people of color in the STEAM field. What do you think about the U.S. policy to STEAM education, especially as it pertains to the Bipoc community and the girls? We cannot forget the girls, because the girls are also underrepresented, or women are also underrepresented in the STEAM field. What is your take on the U.S. policy to the STEAM education?
I think, and it's a great question, Doctor. I think when we look at overall looking at funding, I think there's a lot more money that can be added to this. I mean, if you look at other countries and other Western nations, and I'll put it that way. I don't like using the term developed versus undeveloped nations. I don't like those terms. I think every nation is developing. No one is developed fully. I think there's a lot more money we can put into STEM. We can start with, our lower classes, bringing technology, bringing the right equipment into elementary schools, bringing, making sure that, we have the teachers who are in place, who are trained properly. And sometimes just bring in the experts from outside, from corporate America, from individual business owners, bring them into the classrooms and saying, okay, let's pay them more. Let's pay the teachers more. Let's give them more training, more experience in whatever the subject in STEM. But of course, that's going to take money. I think sometimes in this country, we focus our money, our funds on the wrong things, on other countries and other areas where we do have the money to bring back. I mean, to the numbers you brought up, why isn't it more money? And then the question also comes to the money we have spent. Do we ever go back and do a deep dive and say, okay, has the money we've spent, is it giving us results? Mm-hmm. being you've been in the corporate world and you've been in the education world. Everything in the corporate world is about results.
Yeah.
If a company spends money on X, they want to see what result are we going to get. It's one of the biggest things that happens for what I do, in cybersecurity. They want to know, okay, what risk am I averting? Am I mitigating? What's the risk mitigation here for the dollars I'm spending? And their actual results from that. I think we need to do the same thing for the money we've spent and also for what we're planning to spend. So we need to go back and look at that. I mean, recent numbers say that people of color, Black Americans, are 7% of the STEM workforce,
really
which is very low.
Yeah.
And this administration is not the first administration that's done this. It's been other prior administrations. And I think sometimes we take government takes and thinks we can just throw money at things, but we don't come back and look at, okay, for the money we spent, what are the results? Because maybe we need to redirect that money or look at how it's being spent so we can have results.
Okay. So are you also saying that, well, I like the way you're thinking, but again, I just want to put a pin on this. So are you saying that there is enough money that is being put towards STEM education, or are you saying there is not enough money that is being put towards education? And as a follow-up, one of the biggest challenge that the reason why we're struggling in seeing the results, or actually structuring it in a way in which we can see a better result, is because of the way we are managing the money. I mean, for example, you mentioned something about risk assessment and results and all that. Is that what, I mean, can you elaborate on that? I mean,
yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're spending, to your question, I don't know if we're spending the right amount of money. I don't know if anybody can ever tell us that.
Okay.
Because we have not come, I mean, if I look at the results we have now, based on what I just said, okay, 7%.
Right.
Of African Americans.
That
those
is
are some bad numbers.
Yeah, especially being the fact that we make up about 13 to 15% of the population.
Of the population,
right?
So if I look at that, then I could go back and say, oh no, then the money's not working. For what we're spending is not working now. Is it the reason? Is the reason because we're not spending enough? Or I mean, I don't know. I can't say that. Are we spending enough, or we just don't see the results of what the results? We're spending enough money, but the way we're spending it is incorrect. Let me say it that way.
Okay.
So I don't think we know till somebody. I mean, I can just say from what I've seen and from what I see consistently where I work, that no, the results we're getting are not adequate.
Right. Don't reflect.
We're not. They don't reflect.
Yeah.
They don't.
Right.
They don't.
I do see. I do see. So what about in terms of I like that. So there needs to be a rigorous assessment of not only our educational system or the goals that we're trying to achieve. We need to align it with also the amount of money that we're spending. If you are in that group of people that feels like, well, the United States government is spending a lot of money, so I think it is fair to actually sort of look back and say, okay, I mean, we know that there's there's underrepresentation of a certain group within this industry, and we're putting a lot of money in that direction. There is a need to re-examine the process. What's working, because if I'm in the corporate world like you are, and you're hired to deliver, if your employer is giving you a certain amount of money and
Yeah,
he's not seeing results. Uh,
exactly. Exactly. I'm gone. I'm gone. I mean, my value is not, I'm not adding value,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, and that's where I think that's where it comes to, you know, you have, to your point, you have one side that says, oh, we're spending too much money.
Yeah.
And then you have another side saying there's not enough. There's a middle ground,
Right.
I think, to where we need to come to. But
Yeah.
the thing is, on both sides, we don't have, okay, with the money we're spending, how is it being spent?
Right.
Because we do have a result. And one result is, and we can use this as a baseline,
Right.
is 7% of Black Americans
Mm.
make up make up STEM professionals,
That
which
is
is
real.
low.
Yeah, that is a real number, and it
That's a
is
real
low,
number.
as you've said, and it is
Yeah.
low, and it's
Yeah.
unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. It's
Yes,
not
sir.
right. Yes,
So,
exactly.
so we've talked about the spending that the United States is actually spending. What about the corporate and the non-for-profit organization? Are they doing in terms of funding and outreach to support STEAM awareness or set up STEAM initiative that could increase participation of the Blacks, Indigenous, and people of color's participation in pursuing majors and careers in the STEAM field?
This is a good question. I know my company, the company I work for,
Okay.
goes, does a yeoman's job of making sure, you know, looking at diversity, trying to hire in different people, race, religion, creed, it doesn't matter. They do a lot. Now in the African American community, they do a lot of outreach.
Hmm.
I think the issue comes down to, and this is where the numbers show, is as much as they reach out, there is a finite amount of people that qualify.
Hmm. Wow.
And this is where I think the problem is if I have a subset, I have a subset of Black Americans or people of color who
Yes.
are Black. And in this subset here, I'll use it like this, we have just a slither that's qualified. And of that slither, you have all these companies pulling and wanting them.
Hmm.
You still have 98% that don't qualify
Wow.
for whatever reason, you know, whether it is they don't have the technical skills,
Yeah.
they don't have, you know, there are reasons why.
Hmm.
Because a company will bend over backwards to say, okay, I'm one of those people where, you know, I did not have all the skills when I started out. And this was back in 2000. And actually it was 2000, 1999 when I started ERP systems. And I came from a logistics background. I knew about computers. I had worked with computers and stuff like that, but I did not have the knowledge.
Hmm.
They worked with me, okay, to get me to, and then of course they worked with me, and then a lot of it relied on myself.
Hmm.
Late nights, learning, trying to understand. You know, it's not an easy thing, but it's a mirroring of both now. But companies have to have something to work with, and I see the companies. I know our company is working with people. You know, I mean, it used to be where in cybersecurity, you know, they were looking at people who had degrees only. You
Hmm.
had to have a university degree. Now you can come in to my company with an AA, have experience, and start getting certifications and do very well. So the corporate world is moving the scale, trying to open up more because they found out that there's a finite amount of people of color who have degrees in IT, whether it's cybersecurity or whatever, who qualified in the old paradigm.
Hmm.
They're shifting that to say, okay, listen, let's open that up so we have a bigger sphere to choose from. But even in that bigger sphere, It all comes down to, how many people, you still have 98% of the people who may not qualify, or 80% of the people, populations who don't qualify. That comes back on us in our community. What are we doing to equip our boys and our girls for STEM, which is where you come in, which is one of your passions?
Yeah. I like that. So there is actually a concerted effort in the corporate world to try to bridge that divide, at least to try to, not only increase the diversity within the corporate world, but at the same time bring in talents within our community. So they're trying different strategies. They're not only relying. So what you're saying is they're not only relying on, education only, but it could be. So any suggestion? Oh, well, I'll get back to that later.
Sure.
So there is a claim. I'm going to come back to this point later, but let me, because I have other questions that I wanted to ask you, and I want to make sure that we address them. So there are claims that there is no significant shortage in STEAM talent. Okay. And for that reason, that is the reason why you see a lot of spending from the federal government since the 1950s, right? As you can see, the federal government has, invested so much in education and training. And even that also affects labor immigration policies, as well as efforts in terms of diversity in the STEM work field. But again, there are some people that say there is no shortages whatsoever. What is your take? But I think have hinted that there is actually a shortage within our community. But what about as America in general? Is there shortage?
Oh, yeah.
And then can you tie it back to our community? And if you can, also if you can also connect it to why you think. I think you've alluded to why, but if you can elaborate on that, that would be great.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a shortage. I know in my company, and I'll just look at cybersecurity.
Yes.
It takes us, I'm going to throw this out, probably an average of 5, 6, 7 months to find candidates.
Wow.
Qualified.
5,
Yeah.
6,
Oh yeah.
7 months.
Mm-hmm. Oh
That's
yeah.
a long time. Why does it
It's
take
a
so
long time. Trying to find qualified people. That is the issue, is finding qualified people to do the job. That's where we are. I mean, they said that I can't remember the numbers in cybersecurity, how many open jobs there are. But if we take where cyber has grown, one thing, if you just look at cybersecurity, there are different aspects of cybersecurity. You have your event monitoring, which are you have your analysts who are monitoring events coming in, coming out. You have your response team, incident response team that will respond. You have threat intelligence. So if I take, for example, threat intelligence and say, all right, this is, if you want to use that as the opening to get into cyber, how many people, what's it take? What's the qualifications? And some will say, you know what? I think I need to be technical. Not for threat intelligence. You really need to have a desire to investigate, because your threat intelligence people are the ones who, investigate your threat actors. What are they doing? So it can kind of be a psychology. And then you can, if you want to, then you go into the technical aspect. But if you look at cyber across the board, we don't have enough people. You go into AI, which is very big. Artificial intelligence. One of the complaints is, if you talk to Alexa, I don't know if you've had it, but I had somebody laughing. I said, if I take a true Nigerian and we start talking to Alexa, Alexa is not going to understand us. But now we have to ask a question: why is that? And the reason why is we do not have people of color in the development cycle doing artificial intelligence. So you have to be. I mean, we have to have Nigerians. We have to have African Americans. You have to have people in there that are helping develop the programs. They're helping develop the not just programs, but the policies, all of that. So yeah, jobs are going to continue to grow. Tech jobs, we do not have enough people to come in. That's why you have, I don't know if they still call them that, but H-1B visas, people coming in from India and other places. Yeah, because they need to fill those jobs, these jobs.
So what can we do as educators, or what can our community possibly do in order to encourage? Because I look at it like in one of my programs that I had, I asked a question: are we leaving money on the table? Because the last reading of an article that I read, it was stated that the median salary for an individual with a STEM degree is $91,000. That's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the percentage of our people, in this field, we're underrepresented.
Right.
So, and that's why I asked, are we leaving money on the table? So if there's a lot of money to be made, and that money can really change, a person's life and their family's life, even to many generations, right? What can we as a community, what can we do? What are we not doing that? So instead of going for, especially in America, instead of America going and, importing, people to come and work, and people that will not stay, people that will end up going back to their, so there is that effect.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be more wiser to develop our people? What can we possibly do, especially within the Bipoc? I mean, for empowerment for our community and even for America itself?
I think it starts in the elementary school.
Okay.
You can go back to something I said, build on. Other countries start their kids on a track. The more we start our younger kids in elementary school, junior high, through high school, I think we have to look at this as a generational build.
Wow.
We come in and we say we try to take somebody who's graduated high school and say, okay, here's STEM. Now you need to go into STEM. They didn't go into STEM before. They might have been liberal arts, which nothing's wrong with liberal arts. It's a different way of thinking. Now there are technologies that you can use in liberal arts and build on that. But what we're not doing, we're not building them beforehand. It's like as the African American community, if you look at back in the days of .com.
Yeah.
There's one person I knew who was really into .com, who actually inspired me to leave what I was doing and get into technology. I had my ex-brother-in-law. He was in the military.
Yeah.
And he got into technology. He's doing very well and has been there. I mean, we were talking about a month ago, about some things. We need to impart in our kids that technology, of course, I'll step back and I'll say, your kids' talents.
Yeah.
And what drives them. And you encourage that no matter which way it is. But then with technology touching every single aspect of our lives, there is something technologically that they can get into. that will help them.
Yeah.
And we have to start this early. And we're not starting it early enough. I mean, I guarantee you, if I go into the inner city in Baltimore school and I say, tell me, what are you guys doing STEM wise? What courses are you teaching your fourth graders? I would venture to say you probably would not have anything of substance.
Wow.
When my daughter was teaching in the elementary school up here in Laurel, I went and I did a cyber day. And what I did was very simple. I went to the $5 store, picked up a bunch of gifts, and I had a competition on encryption. I said, listen, I said, here, I said, everybody, I said, the first three that get this right, you will get a prize. I said, let me explain to you what encryption is. And I explained encryption and said, this is how you build on encryption. And honestly, because kids are able to be molded, they were all excited. And they were competitive. They were like, okay, I gave them, I think it was 5 questions, and they had to break the code. Something very simple. But that's how you spark the interest. And once you have that interest sparked, then you start building on that. We can't be hot and cold.
It sounds like that's bribery to me, man. $1 store.
Hey, it was bribery, but they
got
were
the job done.
It got the job done. It got the job done. And they were all, I mean, every single one of those kids. And I I respect teachers immensely after I did that, because I had 1, 2, 3, 4 classes I did.
Wow. I commend you.
I worked 15, 16-hour days at times, and I was not as tired as I was in those 4 hours.
Yeah, teachers indeed are special, but you're
Oh
special,
yeah.
I mean, for coming in into our community school and making a major inspiring. Imagine, a child that you've just inspired, just by your presence. More of our parents that are in the STEM fields need to come into the building, actually, so that the more we can see more of you, the color of people doing this, imagine the impact that will actually play. So I'm glad that you said that. I want to circle back though. You mentioned something when I was talking to you about the low representation of our people. If there are, if really we have a STEM, shortage in terms of of our people or Americans in the STEM field. You mentioned something. You use an example of the cybersecurity. So I wasn't aware that there are. When I think about cybersecurity, I mean, I'm only just looking at it from one dimensional, right? But based just listening to you, it appears that there are multi-stage, right?
Oh yeah, multiple levels.
In terms of, so are we basically in our community, have we failed in, especially when it comes to introducing our young people, let's say in the colleges or even in a high school, not really making it clear to them that their experience, they do not have to look at cybersecurity from one dimension. Could that be part of the problem? Is it cool?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say?
I think it is part of the problem. I think when sometimes people will see cyber and they'll think of this, okay, it has to be people who are hackers, who are extremely technical, who, know code. No, it's not that all the time. Does it have an advantage? Yes. But cyber is extremely broad. I mean, you can go into law. Let's even talk about privacy, which has become a big thing, because now if I look at now don't get it wrong, but the European uh, 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 GCI, I think GCIR, I think. I don't want to get it wrong, but their privacy laws versus American privacy laws, they're very different. So you can become a lawyer and really that can be your focus, which
Wow.
is privacy laws. You know, India has different privacy laws.
Hmm.
Nigeria has their own privacy laws. You know, what's allowed, what's not allowed.
Hmm.
You know, so you have that portion. You have the people who are the hackers who are really into the code and into hacking. So you have your white hat, hackers and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So you have that. You have your analysts who are there.
Hmm.
So there are many aspects of cyber that people can get into.
Hmm.
So it's not a small, a small group. You know, and I encourage when I'm encouraging or mentoring our Black youth, men, women, I'm telling them one of the big things to do is to get into a management position
Hmm.
in everything because as technology increases,
Yeah.
automation also increases.
Wow.
And when automation comes in,
Right.
when the computer starts, then you start seeing salaries will get for the lower parts, the lower levels, they may not be needed. So you have to continue to increase
Hmm.
your knowledge. You continue to grow. So you want to go into management. You want to go on and you want to have people under you, because you want to be more of the thinking.
Hmm.
Because anything that's repetitive, a computer can do.
Right. Hmm.
And that's where we're at.
Hmm.
So we have to, apart from that, we have to make sure that we are not in school. We're not, our kids are taking those AP classes. Our
Hmm.
kids are taking all of the advanced classes, because as you know, you were teaching. I remember when the girls were in school, there was on level courses.
Yes.
You had your advanced, then you had your AP and stuff. And I forced my daughters to make sure they took AP classes,
Yes.
just like I know you do with my
Yeah.
nephew and niece,
Yeah. Yes.
you know, because I told my girls, I said, listen, if you're on level, as you go through life, like as you're climbing up that ladder, from high school into college, I said the funnel starts getting a competition
No.
gets thinner,
Right.
narrow. And I
Yes.
said the reason why we have a dropout of African Americans in college is because we got A's in the on level courses, but all the other races and everybody else were taking advanced classes,
Right. Hmm.
and they were prepared
Yeah.
for what was coming up, and we weren't. So we drop out. Or when we look at our A is not the same A as the other A.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
truth be told, what does corporate America look at?
Hmm.
They're going to look at what's the best bang for my buck.
Absolutely.
And if I'm looking at two A's, one A is this type of A, the other is this type of A.
Hmm. Choose the
We
other
can't always rely on race
one. Right.
being the driver just because I'm black. They're going to like me. And you can't.
Mm-mm.
You can't. So we all have to be. Once you're at that same level,
Yeah.
then they'll say, "Okay, yeah, we'll hire you."
Yeah. Mm.
You know. Um, so it all starts in school. It all starts with, we can't be mediocre
Yeah.
with our kids can't be mediocre. We have to stop raising that mediocrity and letting mediocrity be okay.
Mm. I like what you say. That is really that's profound indeed. That is really profound. So, with the importance of tech job in the 21st century workforce, what segment of the tech industry are experiencing the greatest challenges recruiting people of color and girls? And what could possibly be done to increase this number of the underrepresentation? Is it cybersecurity? Is it, you know,
I think you have so many.
okay,
Mhm. I
okay,
think you have so many. I mean, in my field, it's cyber,
okay,
because I'm in that field.
okay,
But then you have, as we were talking, AI.
okay. Okay.
We are very lowly represented in AI.
Wow. Wow.
You know, you have, just programmers, just regular general IT programmers, all of those, there's a need and there will continue to be a need
Yeah.
for them as we evolve, as this tech industry evolves constantly.
Mhm.
But I always caution people to say, just like the dot com, and there were certain things in dot com, technology evolves, machines evolve, and machine learning evolves to the point where just that entry level position will not be the position it is today. If the entry position is paying 60,000, eventually, once machine learning starts coming in, that will
Mhm.
probably go down to 30,000.
Mhm.
So to your point of leaving money and generational, leaving money on the table, we have to brace our kids for that and brace our kids for a competitive world that, yeah, okay, if you got in, you have to continue to compete. You're going to compete against the best of the best. So you've got to be the best.
Wow, this is profound. This is really, this is indeed very powerful. So also what you are saying is not just getting into the field, but also, but how do you get into the field and staying relevant and also becoming more competitive, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so if I made some of the ideas that you presented, is that it's not that the corporation is not looking; they are really looking.
Mm-hmm.
But but we're not as qualified as we should be, and we need to change our way of thinking, even when we are interested in this field. We need to we need to encourage our children, our students within this community to take challenging classes, right? Because it will prepare them. Because there is a real issue of attrition, right? When you
Yeah.
talk about attrition between the people of color versus the
Mm-hmm.
other non-people of color, there is more attrition with the people of color in the tech field,
There is.
right, than the people that are not. So now the question is, how much of that is because of the fact that we have not prepared ourselves to be part of that culture. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
if you're in
Good point.
Google, right,
Mm-hmm.
in the tech industry. So I think there are relevance to everything that you've said. So now that leads me to the next question. Is the focus of the K through 12 career education then pointed in the right direction? Are we approaching it the wrong way? I mean,
That's a good question. I mean, I would
yeah,
leave that to, I mean, from what I've seen and from what's come out,
right.
I think, I mean, I would have to go into the schools. I don't see, I don't see it being the right direction
Okay.
because, I mean, like I said, even in a school where you have kids who might be, on the lower spectrum as far as in low income parents, those kids that I was, you know, with, there was an excitement. So when you have that excitement, when you have that spark, what do we do? I think there needs to be a focus on, okay, well, we have these kids who are extremely interested in this. Let's get a course which is more towards technology, more towards engineering, and let's put them on because they're interested in that. Then you have some who might be interested in different things, whether it's dance or something else. Then you start on paths. But I think with our, with our kids, I think that needs to start early. And I don't think we're starting early enough.
Mm.
I think there's the other thing too, is parents.
Yeah.
I know there's a term, it takes a village to raise a child. I
Right.
kind of I kind of flip that. I said it takes parents to raise a child. It takes the village to support them.
Wow.
Because
Profound. Wow.
because if I think about it,
Mm.
you're with my niece and my nephew. You and my sister are there with them 24/7. I'm
Absolutely.
not with them 24/7.
No, you're not.
Now, the most I can do
Right.
is you guys, you'll come and tell me, hey, listen, they're interested in this. Hey, how can I support that?
Right. Right. Mm.
That's my job,
Right.
is supporting that. I can't raise. So I kind of take back of that term. It takes a village. No, it takes parents to raise a kid. The village supports the raising of the kid,
Mm.
of the child.
Yeah.
Um, and I think we go back to parents, and I think even for parents in lower incomes, I think there needs to be some kind of education to them, because unfortunately, what they don't know, they don't know. And I think if you look at I remember this movie, Stand and Deliver, with
Yeah.
the principal, was in New Jersey. I mean, he went to parents and said, hey, listen, your kid's this, do this. I think that outreach needs to happen
Right.
in the inner cities
Mm.
and it's not just the inner cities, because some of our parents in Great Bowie or Waldorf don't know either. So let me not put it there, but I think there needs to be a reach to them. Parents need to be involved to understand the consequences of them. It's interesting. I still need to research this a little bit more, but TikTok had, there was a 60-minute um, uh, interview with talking about social media. And this one guy came in and was talking about TikTok, and said that the TikTok version in the US and the or in the Western world, and the other world, and the TikTok version in China are very different.
Wow.
The TikTok version in China, I think it says it allows them like 40 minutes a day or something like that. I might get it wrong, but it's all educational. It's teaching them. It's about being patriotic. It's about science. It's about things like that. Where
Mm.
ours is open to anything.
Right. Right.
And our kids spend so much time on that. And they said that there was uh, middle school, I think it was middle school, middle age teenagers. They said within China and the US, they said, what's your aspirational goal?
Mm.
The US, it was to be an influencer.
Influencer.
The Chinese, it was to be an astronaut.
Wow. Wow.
Two totally different ways of thinking. Now, I'd have to get more into the 60 minutes that they
Right.
were talking about. I saw excerpts of it,
Right.
but that is profound,
It is.
because and it's owned by a Chinese company.
Yeah. Mm.
TikTok's owned by a Chinese company. So in their own country, they're showing, hey, this is educational. They're making this educational, whereas ours is open to everything. Now, of course, there are restrictions you can put on it.
Yeah.
And whether it's YouTube, I don't care which one it is. That's where parents come in, because everything that's good has a bad
Mm.
aspect
Right.
to it.
Right.
Because I can go on YouTube, I can go on TikTok, and I've been on both, and I will learn stuff.
Right.
It depends on which path you're going.
Mhm.
How do you use the tool?
Right. Mm. Yes, parents play a very significant factor.
And parents play a factor there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, you addressed the question what needs to change in our thinking towards conventional career and in education, and also career in our community. So, do you want to add on to that? I know
Mhm.
you were stressing the importance of parents as it
Yeah.
pertains to
And
learning.
I think as teachers, I think those of us who it's talking about talk about give back.
Mhm.
Those of us who are um, in tech fields, in cyber, to go into the inner city schools, take some time out of our busy days
Yeah.
and go back into the schools and really get involved, because it takes a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not anything. And I step back. I think what happens, and I've been guilty of it, is we step in, We do something that's great, and then we step back out.
Hmm.
I've done my one course. I've done my one thing. I'm good. I've given to the community. No, it's
You have to sustain it. It has to be
you have to
sustainability.
sustain it. You
Right.
have to sustain
Right.
it. I mean, I'm guilty of that. Just like everything else, we're all busy.
Yeah. It's true.
But I think we have to look at this generationally. Unfortunately, I think where we talked about in the beginning, the money we're spending, that's for the now. What's the future? And we have to look at this generationally. We have to start early. And we have to build, we have to get our private sector involved.
Yeah.
They have to be, because I'm of the belief, government can only do so much.
Yeah.
And government has not been too good at really doing too much good on a lot of things.
Right. I understand.
There are things they've done okay on, but for the most part, I think it needs to be private sector. And I think our kids need to see more people like us, to your point,
Right. Yeah.
who are doing well,
Yeah.
men, women, and encourage them. But we can't jump in and jump out. We have to jump in and stay.
You're right. I like that. I understand. So, as a person of color, I understand the importance and the commitment to success of a diverse population. After all, we live in a diverse society where collaboration of members of our diverse population promotes achievement for all members of our society. Uh, I don't know, maybe you've alluded to it. Why are we still struggling to make STEAM workforce inclusive, diverse, and equitable in the United States? Why is that such a challenge?
It's money. I
Okay.
mean, if it takes a lot to train a person
Okay.
as corporate, if you think about it. When you bring somebody in, everybody who comes in is going to get trained
Hmm.
in some way. You're trained on your job, you're trained on the culture of the company, whatever. So it's I think, and then we have to remember the pool.
Hmm.
The pool of people. Yeah, we have a good amount of whites, we have a good amount of Asians
Yeah.
who are in there. I mean, according to numbers, overrepresented
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
But why is that? We have to ask that question because the pool is big for them. And corporate America was looking at, hey, we're going to take the most qualified and we're going to continue taking. We have this small slither.
Yeah.
And it's our qualified people are they're souped up and they're just as good as any other. Once you get to a certain level, everybody is good
Hmm.
and good at what they do.
Hmm.
And I think corporate America just really looks at, number one, it's all about the dollars.
Hmm.
What's going to be easier for me? Am I going to take 6 months to try to hire for a position that I've got to have that's critical? And I really want to have somebody of color, a Black American, whether woman or man. I need to try to find that person. And they try, and they can't find that person,
Hmm.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now, am I saying that racism does not exist? No, I'm not. It exists everywhere. And that's one thing we have to tell our kids. You're going into a culture which is very diverse. People are learning you, you're going to learn about them. So you have to wear thick skin. You have to call out things. You have to be tough. The corporate world is not for the meek.
Hmm.
It's not. And this is where, go back, where mentorship comes in, because now you have another man, woman of color that I can go back to who has tenure in the industry and say, what did you do in this?
Hmm.
Did you experience this? Do I give up here? Do I drop out because somebody said this and I was offended? You know, what avenue do I take? And that's where mentorship comes in. You know, I really believe in that, you know, our young kids coming in from, I mean, I think mentorship from high school, from middle school, probably should happen. And that's one thing in our discussion that probably left out, that, you know, mentorship starting early all the way through. And that's part of the not jumping in, jumping out, but mentoring them as they go on, because we have the experience, we've been through it.
Yeah, but I like what you said, and because my question was actually you addressed the question, and then you added to it why we're still struggling with the inclusivity and diversity and equity in the United States. So it's especially as it pertains to our community, it's just because we don't have enough people that are
We
skilled.
don't.
Uh, so, and I think you touch, many times you touch upon that. Um, so my thing is, since we only have a small number, since there's a small amount of those of us that are experienced when it comes to, take for example, people like you in the tech field, right? In the cyber information system, right? That are well experienced, that are knowledgeable, but there aren't a lot of you. So if I'm a corporation looking for increasing the diversity, right, within my company, and I know that I have this small amount, right, and every other company is sort of vying for this small amount. So, is there any strategies, anything that a company like me can do in order to increase? I mean, the number of minorities in my company that I know that don't probably have the type of talent that I'm looking for. What or is there anything that I can do within the high school level or in the college level to try to prepare, this young mind to come and work for me? How can I cultivate? What do I do?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. Um, I think it starts with, for example, any company. If you take a big tech company, whether it's Google, whoever, or you take a big six, you know, consulting company, Deloitte, KPMG, whoever, if you go into the schools, let's just say, and this is just a thought, you go and say, okay, listen, I'm going to take some inner city high schools. And what I'm going to do, I am going to, as a company, because I'm looking long term,
Mhm.
I'm going to start investing, putting our mark on kids starting out in ninth grade.
Hmm.
Google starts investing in these kids and saying, okay, listen, here, we're going to give you computers, we're going to teach you, we're going to have people come in, we're going to do A, B, C, D. You will start to see a growth. Because remember now, in tech, you don't have to wait till somebody graduates college to get into the workforce.
Hmm.
They can get out right from high school and start making a darn good, I was going to curse, I won't, darn good salary
Absolutely.
from high school. And then you continue the certification courses,
Through internships and
internship,
apprenticeship, right?
certification. Yeah.
Right?
But yeah, exactly. I mean, you can have people coming out from high school making 60, 70,000. If they go on through, I mean, you have somebody who's smart, quick on it, get AWS certifications. You don't have to have, and that's one of the great things about tech is that no, you don't have to wait for the college degree anymore. You don't. You can start from high school. You start, a Google comes in and starts saying, you know what, we're going to teach you about cloud. By the time you get out, you graduate with your high school diploma, but you also graduate with a AWS certification. You are already starting to work.
And we can implement that within our community.
We can do that in our community because you know what happens? You don't even have to wait for corporate America.
Absolutely.
because we have enough African Americans
Right.
who have AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, GCP certification that can come in and start teaching. And you have a course. You implement that into the curriculum.
Yeah.
By the time these kids get out, they're ready to go. They've already
Absolutely.
started. They can start an internship 11th grade
And
working
also,
for somebody.
and also they do not have to feel out of culture, right?
They
As if
don't have to
they
fill
do
out
not
culture.
belong, right? As if they do not
Exactly.
belong.
Exactly.
So what role did the HBSU schools play in all of this? Um, any recommendation? Any
Uh,
thought?
well, we get to HBCUs. You're at that
I
point.
mean, I'm sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Uh, yes, HBU schools.
Yeah, I think you know there has to be, and I think there are more colleges that are now looking at tech. That are having tech programs. I think the biggest thing to at that point is preparing the kids who are going into the technical fields, is preparing them for corporate America, preparing them for business development. Because everybody may not want to go corporate America.
Hmm.
You might want to start your own business. You have ideas. I'm all for that. But I think it's the preparing now is saying, okay, listen, you know, how do we develop you to get your desired goal? Whether it's corporate, whether it's owning your own business, because it's both ways.
Yeah.
There's so many opportunities that are there for you to start a business. There are a lot. So I think with the HBCUs, it has to be, I think we go back to mentorship. We go back to let us make sure that we're focusing on them not just getting in and getting entry level jobs.
Hmm.
Let's make sure that we get them to the point to where they get in, and that entry level job is an entry level job for just this long. And of course, that has a lot to do with the individual,
Hmm.
but preparing them is a whole nother thing. And that's what colleges do. You have enough tools in your back pocket to be that manager, to be that tech lead, to be that tech supervisor, which in whichever field. And that's where I think the HBCUs go, having, and I think there's a lot of sponsorship from people like Google and corporations that do come in. But I think also it's taking advantage and encouraging the kids to take advantage of that,
Hmm.
because it's not a quick thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I think we need to tell our kids that, you know what, you may not, and this is one of the qualms I have with tech, because people think once you get out, you're going to make a whole bunch of money. You're going to be in the six figures. Some, yes, but some, it takes time
Right.
to get there. You might be in the 60, 70,000 range for a couple of years, but
Right.
as long as you're seeing an increase and you're taking advantage of all of the opportunities that are there, you will see an increase.
I want to thank you so much for your wealth of experience and a lot of insights and how we as a community can build the next generation to be part of this American innovations in the STEM field. Um, your experience and your input are very invaluable. I just want to thank you very much. Is in terms of one last question, in terms of how to help connect, recruit, and share opportunities with highly talented community. I mean, highly talented students, undergraduate, graduate, or K through 12. Any recommendation finally for the tech field, or any recommendation from this K through 12 schools or the colleges in order to help them, at least start helping more of our people going in that direction, or to get awareness, to get, for the students to know, okay, there is this opportunity there is this, opportunity there, I can,
Right.
any thoughts?
I think, it would be, how would I say this? I think using YouTube, using the tools that are out there
Okay.
to look at what opportunities there are,
Okay.
hopefully I think, career, what do they call it? Career centers
Okay.
in the
Okay.
schools,
Okay.
career advisors, stuff like
Yes.
that. And
Right.
hopefully they're reaching out
Okay.
to people
Okay.
to make sure they put these forward, to
Yeah.
present them to the students as options.
Okay.
I think it's important. I think that's probably the way to go
Okay.
on those.
Thank you so much. Is there any final thoughts that you want to?
I appreciate this. I mean, thank you. I mean, I see what you're doing, and I know it will be a success. And I know your passion.
Thank you.
So I think this is a great platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on In Touch. I really appreciate your time and your contribution. God bless. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you.
So
Appreciate it.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you next. Bye-bye.